Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to another subscriber replay video. Yay! Because World of Tanks, because What Replays was kind of down for a while last week for maintenance, we ended up having two videos showing me doing stuff, a review and then some gameplay from, it was the Jumbo, Sherman Jumbo. So I thought we'd have a pair of subscriber replay videos this time round. Now, we are kicking off proceedings with this game, obviously. There's a few different reasons I wanted to show this game. Firstly, a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, are saying that games, matches in World of Tanks are getting shorter. Both of these games are going to go on for a while, so hopefully you're going to get your money's worth. Secondly, because we've got Silent Tool here, and some of you may remember that name, I have shown replays and videos with Silent Tool in before, but it's been a while, so it would be nice to have some gameplay from him again. Thirdly, because this is the CS52 lease, and whilst I have shown a CS52 lease game not that long ago, driven by Pansy I believe it was, it's still a tank that I haven't really shown very much, and so I thought it would be nice to. And fourth, because my brain just likes the fact that we have a Polish tank on the Polish map, the map that was introduced with the Polish tech tree, so there's that. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat at the moment, so at various points I might have to pause the video. Sorry, not pause the video, but I'll just mute my microphone for a second just to take a quick drink. Because, yeah, my poor throat. So if we look at this particular game, we can see that obviously Silent Tool is here on Studzianki. I cannot pronounce that, so my apologies to everyone who knows how to pronounce it better than I do. And he is in pretty good matchmaking. So we've got, well, it's almost 357 matchmaking. If you count it up, it's actually 366, but close enough. And hopefully, Silent Tool should be able to have a really good game here, as he's in a very powerful tank for the matchmaking. So he's come over to what you might consider kind of the medium tank flank, and he's decided he's not taking prisoners. Gets a bit unlucky with a bounce there on the T-34-85M. I mean, I say unlucky. You could argue he was lucky to even hit the guy, but kind of unlucky to bounce, maybe. Anyway. The point is, he's got himself into quite a forward position, got down into this dip here. Enemy M12 takes out the friendly T-34-85, and the friendly Panther M10, well, he's got into quite an aggressive position. Maybe too aggressive. There's quite a lot of bad guys over here. I mean, if you look at the team compositions, there aren't that many heavy tanks. Ooh. Oh, that's a lot of shooting. Oh dear, oh that's bad. I mean, set the EBR on fire, but that's quite a lot of damage to trade for a tier 7. It's tier 7 wheelie. I mean, that's better, I guess, but, ooh, lucky to get the fire there, unlucky to get shot by so much, though one could argue maybe Silent Tool shouldn't have poked there. Swings and roundabouts. Lovely kill there on the Easy 8 to make the score 4-3. So for anyone interested, I haven't played the CS52, but it does very much look like a T44 with a bigger gun. So it's got a 100mm gun, is it 100, 105? 105mm gun with 320 alpha damage, 208 penetration with the standard ammunition. If you're going to fire APCR, your pen goes up to 252 and your shell velocity goes up to almost 1600. Damn, that's a lot. Scoreline's 4-4, and we're going to see what Silent Tool can do. Just as I mute my mic to take a sip of drink, that SU-152 gets deleted. That chap clearly got spotted out, and on quite an open map, in a machine that isn't overly endowed with armour. That was probably only ever going to end one way, let's be honest, but despite all that... Ooh, shot, shot, shot. That's a very careless T-34. Despite all that, the friendly team is actually down 5-7. I mean, you're probably going to guess that because I did say both of these games are going to go on for a while. And let's be honest, games tend not to go on for a while if they're just a bit of a stomp. Pretty much by definition, so, yeah. Things might head a little bit south, but... I'm not going to tell you whether they're wins or not. It's entirely possible these could be wins, and it's entirely possible they could go south. Nice shot there into the 45 TP. And Silent Tool here is up to, what, 1650 damage roughly, which isn't too shabby. He's picked up a couple of kills. He's definitely had a reasonable impact on this game. Just a shame he's lost so many hit points, and oh, probably should have taken that shot a little bit sooner because the bridge blocked his shot. And when you look at the post-game stats, you might feel the pain of that missed opportunity for a kill. But manages to take out the T-43, so Silent Tool is now on 3 kills, and the score lines are evened up at 8 kills apiece. Down to 10 rounds of armor-piercing ammunition now, by the way. I mean, Silent Tool, he carries a respectable stock of APCR here, but it's not as if he's just going heavy on the gold or anything. He did have 20 rounds of armor-piercing, but he's fired off half of those thus far. Friendly team, ELC even 90, which could be quite powerful. Tank on this sort of map actually. Manages to pick up a kill on the T-34-85M, but the enemy IS-3A takes out the OI, and the score lines are even at 9 kills apiece. Now the problem with that 45 TP is not the 45 TP himself, it's does he have any friends in the background? My guess would be no. T-34-85M, well, not many friends anyway, manages to pick up the kill and is slowly taking damage, indicating that that VK is still up there. But if you look at what tanks are available to the enemy team, it's not as if they have a whole bunch of tank destroyers or something. Now with the reload on the CS-52, I think you could make a case for saying maybe Silent Tool shouldn't have just sat there waiting for the reload. Maybe he should have pulled back. But either way, he doesn't take any damage for it, and he is able to put the second shot into that VK, leaving the guy on about 260 health. This 105mm gun, for a tier 8 medium tank, does hit pretty hard, and oh, I mean, that was a snapshot. It wasn't exactly guaranteed to hit or pen or anything, but it's a shame that it didn't connect, because it probably would have been a kill, and the enemy team, sorry, the friendly team, did just lose another couple of tanks. The enemy IS-3A does really rather seem to be pulling his weight, as you might expect from a top tier heavy tank in this sort of matchmaking. Now if we have a look here, we can see that apart from the IS-3A, the enemy team don't really have much left to work with. They've got a tier 7 artillery piece, sure, but everyone else is bottom tier, they're tier 6, and we already know the VK is a one-shot. Conversely, on Silent Tool's team, I mean, the Silent Tool himself, there's also the ELC even 90 still going, and then a tier 7 artillery piece for them. So just because they're 2 kills down, that does not mean the friendly team is out of this. They may not have that many hit points to go round, unfortunately, but they do have the tank quality advantage. The question will be, can they lever that tank quality advantage into an actual winning advantage? Or can the enemy team foil their plans? Well, enemy OI has been spotted. He's trying to hug some cover here, and he does indeed appear to have some cover to hug. And this is suboptimal. There's the T-34-85, and it looks like he's going to try and silence the friendly SPG. I mean, it is the GW Panther who's going to have spotted that guy, and yeah, that GW Panther is probably not long for this world if I were a betting man. However, can Silent Tool make this guy regret his decisions? One shot, that was actually a low damage roll, 320 alpha being the average for this gun. Although the CS-52 is not exactly over-endowed with armor, but he is able to bounce the 85mm shell from that T-34-85, and there is the kill. That's 4 kills. That just leaves Silent Tool in his CS-52, and I was just about to say the friendly even 90. As it turns out, the even 90 runs into the enemy VK, kills the VK, but the IS-3A is having none of that, and suddenly Silent Tool is alone against 3 enemy tanks, one of whom is an IS-3A on 4 kills. We have to assume that guy knows what he's doing. And the OI, although he's only a tier 6, is still an OI and does have quite a lot of hit points to work with, although Silent Tool is doing something about making those fewer hit points to work with. Now, that was a low damage roll. It's still going to take another 2 shots to deal with that OI, but that OI clearly, I was about to say clearly, doesn't have view range, but it was enough to spot Silent Tool, so maybe he does, or maybe he's just close enough. I mean, firing the gun there was going to reduce the camo from the bushes in front of Silent Tool, so there we go. With these bushes, you can't really, unless you've got supreme gun depression, you can't really back off far enough to not get spotted if you want to fire the gun. And hello, Mr. OI, how are you doing today? You're doing fab. There's kill number 5. I mean, that guy can actually be very threatening, whether he's using the AP gun, which I believe's got 300 alpha, or whether he's using the 15cm howitzer. That OI could have done a lot of damage to Silent Tool's tank. As it is, he picks up the kill. So, that just leaves the enemy artillery and the IS-3A. Where are they going to be hiding out? Well, we're probably not going to find the artillery straight off, because artillery, probably hiding at the back. And the enemy team probably have a reasonable idea, especially if there's any communication going on, that Silent Tool was last spotted in the vicinity of his base. My money would be on the IS-3A. Oh, speak of the IS-3A, doesn't matter what my money is, there he is. Now, Silent Tool is firing APCR at the moment. He doesn't fire very much APCR in this game, but he did use it to polish off the OI, and he is using it to deal with the IS-3A. Really don't blame him here. You want to make these shots count. There goes the IS-3A, and that's Silent Tool's 6th kill. He's doing a nice job here. 4,500 damage, by the way, in case anyone's paying attention. Back to armor piercing for the enemy M12. Now, tier 7 artillery, if memory serves, that guy's going to have around 320 hit points. So you could make a case for saying that high explosive here might actually be the better ammo choice. I think what I would be doing is preloading HE. 105mm HE is going to have reasonable penetration of 53, yep. Preload the HE, and then have the AP load afterward, so that if you just splash on the M12, the AP should have the punch to do the job. I think that's what I would be doing. Then again, of course, AP can go through all the random cruddy little obstacles that are on the map, which HE can't, so you can definitely kind of make a case either way. Now, I would not expect the M12 to have the punch to take out Silent Tool with one shot. Realistically, that's going to require a penetrating HE round into Silent Tool's tank, but it's not impossible. So we do need to be a little bit careful here, and the reload on that tank, is the M12 that is also not very bad. So, care is required is what I'm getting at. It would be very easy here to just barrel in and potentially throw the game away. I mean, Silent Tool doesn't have that much health to work with. Although he did lose all that health pretty early on, and has done a fairly decent job of conserving the remainder of his hit points ever since. 350 health on that M12, and that's why I would have loaded a HE round, but then again, a HE round wouldn't have gone through that fence. So you can definitely make a case either way, and it doesn't really matter. Silent Tool is able to pick up the kill and take the game down. And there it is. So, let's go and have a look at the post-game stats. Well, that was enough for Ace Tanker, unsurprisingly. Hand of God, Bruiser, Arsonist, Duelist, Fire for Effect, High Caliber, and of course, a Top Gun. Very nicely done. However, 4,845 damage is a lot, but 7 kills, it's still good, but it's not quite a Radley Walters medal, and that's what I was getting at earlier on when Silent Tool missed the kill on, I think it was the T-3485M, if memory serves, but I'm sure someone will correct me if I am wrong. Someone else picked up the kill. That could have been a Radley's game for Silent Tool, but I very much doubt he was complaining. A very nice game there. Managing to take the enemy down despite being outnumbered at the end. As it turns out, with 4 kills, I had originally assumed the IS-3A was carrying the enemy team, and 1,534 damage isn't terrible, but it's not amazing for a tier 8 heavy tank. And really, the people carrying that team, well, not so much the LT. The VK, tier 6 medium tank, 2,070 damage from you, sir. Just a shame it wasn't enough to carry your team across the winning line. Had Silent Tool not been on the enemy team, of course, maybe it would have been sufficient. But he was, and it wasn't. So, commiserations to you. 23 shots fired, 19 hits, 18 pens for that damage count. Most of that damage from relatively close range. 7 hits received, 3 pen, 3 did not, for about 500 damage blocked by Silent Tool's armor there. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 11 damage, 7 destroyed, 149 assistance damage, almost 5 kilometers travelled, and a few APCR rounds fired there just to kind of secure kills against more heavily armoured opponents, but overall, mostly AP, and a very respectable profit there. 50,000 of that was from an event, but that's fine, or a mission or something. Lovely amount of XP to have as well, and all in all, that was a really nice result. I think you'll agree for Silent Tool there in his CS52 lease. So, that's the first game. I hope you enjoyed that one. Let's go and have a look at a second now. Second match then here, and we are joining Capitan Vestic. And he's driving, I just love that name, El Capitan. Anyway, he is driving for us the Char Futur 4, which is a tier 9 French medium tank. Now, I believe this is one of the vehicles you can get from the, or you were able to get from the Steel Hunter and Frontlines game modes. And this is a bit of an interesting tank. So, it's a French tier 9 medium tank, fine. It comes with an autoloader, a 105mm autoloader. And so straight away you might be trying to compare this thing with, let's say, the Batchat 25 TAP, the Tech Tree French autoloading medium tank. But this thing is a little bit different. So the gun is slightly larger caliber. We've got a 105mm autoloader instead of a 100mm. This is basically the gun from the Batchat 25T, the tier 10. But, oh, and it does also get some armour, especially on the turret. Not stunning armour, but enough to bounce equal and lower tiers. But the intraclip reload is 4 seconds, which is quite long. Now, I've played the AMX 5120. That thing has a 3.3 second, oh, ouch, intraclip reload, and that feels painful enough. And there you can see, despite the fact this is an autoloader, he's not actually able to load the second shell in the magazine in enough time to, well, get a second shell off toward the bad guys. Anyway, we're also over here on the, well, I'm going to say newly revamped, because it's new to me, damn it, Pearl River. I remember the old version of this map, back in the day. I believe this was the map that was introduced when the Chinese Tech Tree was introduced. So this is kind of the Chinese map, or one of the Chinese maps these days, I suppose. Because we've also got Empire's Border. But anyway, this map got removed for a while, reworked, and I kind of like it, if I'm being honest. I've had some decent games on this map. I've also had some rubbish games when I first kind of came back to the game in autumn of last year. I had some pretty diabolically bad games on this map because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But since then, I've had some decent games as well. And this little location up here where El Capitan has come up to, well, you know what, actually, this position isn't too shabby. Hello, T69. We're going to finish reloading our magazine in a moment, and ooh, he's not feeling very happy. Now, El Capitan here switches his attention to the ST1. I think he was assuming someone else would pick up the kill on the T69 and didn't really want to waste the shot, but as it is, they don't. And maybe he'd have been better off focusing on the T69 purely to take a gun out of the game. I know the T69 isn't generally considered the most dangerous tank in the world, but, you know, fewer guns is fewer guns. And I should have mentioned right at the beginning of this game, by the way, El Capitan here is not top tier. He's in a tier 9 machine, and this is a tier 10 match. Now, the matchmaking isn't as bad as it could be. We do have tier 8s to shoot at, but he's not top tier. Now, he goes for another reload here, and so far, he hasn't been able to dump this magazine, not the full magazine, anywhere, but I get the impression with such a long reload, or I should say such a long intraclip reload, it's probably relatively common for you to not be able to dump your entire magazine. Oh, there's an thanks, T100 LT. Cheers. There's an AMX 5120. Was it a 5120 or a 5100? 5100, sorry. And El Capitan here backs off a little bit because he gets spotted there, which means they know he's coming, which means he doesn't want to run frontally into the Donkora, because that Donkora cometh for the T100 LT. So, yeah, he gets to find out with his face. And Captain Vistic here, or Capitan, is going round the other way. I think his idea is to support the T-95, but approach from the direction that they don't expect. Now the T-100 has actually managed to get away from the Donkerer, which is nice. Well, we'll see how that works out in the long run. So, El Capitan just going for... trying to spot people here. He manages to find the 5100, not able to put a second shot into the guy, and his shot doesn't go into the chap's tracks either. And the guy just manages to back off. So far, El Capitan here has not really managed to make best use of the auto-loading part of this 105mm gun. However, if you have a look at the minimap, you'll see that the Donkerer is now rather... I'm not necessarily going to say out of position, but he's not in a position to be hurting El Capitan here. And the AMX 5100 for some reason is focusing down the T95. Don't really understand that. He's going to do diddly squat to a T95. Should have focused El Capitan here, but whatever. Never mind. Either way, he's dead. And the scoreline is 8-6. The friendly team is winning, and they're capping the enemy base. Well, I say the enemy base. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And there's the Donkerer. This is an encounter game, so there isn't an enemy base per se, there's just the base. Now, El Capitan has decided I'm not loaded, and that Donkerer is probably going to kill the T-95. Maybe I can come up behind the Donkerer, but, yeah, this isn't looking particularly rosy, and if the T-95 dies, well, I'm next. A shot into the Donkerer would be valuable, though, and that's exactly what El Capitan here is able to do. Unfortunately, the enemy team have managed to rack up another couple of kills, and the scores are now even. Just as I say that, of course, the enemy Foch takes out the T-100 LT, and suddenly the friendly team are down, and the fact that they're capping the base doesn't really count for a great deal of much, because one, this is encounter, it takes ages to cap a base, and two, you're kind of just advertising where you are. Now, Capitan here did go for another reload because he was going to be driving around for a while, which does make sense. However, he wasn't quite reloaded for this E75 in time, although he is able to kill the E75, but not without taking a shot from a Scorpion in the process, and he just goes for another reload here. He doesn't intend to fight for a while. And so we're going to play Ring Around the Roses again, which is fine, except that the friendly team, well, you'll see, I guess. They could really do with the extra teammate, put it this way. But this is one of the things with playing autoloaders. There will be a portion of the game, pretty regularly, where you are severely limited on what you can actually do. Now, El Capitan here is reloaded, and okay, he has managed to use the whole auto-loading aspect of his tank, but with this long intraclip reload so far, you could make a good case for saying he'd have been better off playing a single-shot Tier 9 medium tank with a 105 gun, of which there are plenty. So, yeah, it's difficult, because if the intraclip reload on this thing were too short, of course, you would be splurging best part of 1600 mag damage at people pretty quickly, so I can understand why they didn't want to do that, especially on such a mobile tank, but it's awkward. It's clearly a balancing factor for this thing. I mean, if you, in every other respect, you know, this thing is mobile, it has some armor, it clearly has enough view range. I don't know what the base view range is off the top of my head, but El Capitan here has plenty of view range, so it's clearly not a bad tank. And the 4-second intraclip reload is a balancing factor for that at the end of the day. Now, scoreline is 11-10, and the friendly team are capturing the base. But there are some questions you might be asking. Fairly high up on that list might be, where's the Donkerer? Stilitzvang, enemy Stilitzvang that is, has decided he's had enough of this. He wants to go and do something, which is fair enough, and shots at the front of that thing are not going to do a great deal of much. That thing, if memory serves, is the Tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer, and there's the Donkerer, by the way. Goodbye WZ, he's coming up behind you. And the Stilitzvang has something like 50mm of armor sloped back at an auto bounce angle. So you really want a gun bigger than 150mm in order to overmatch that frontal armour. Or it might be 40mm, in which case you need a gun bigger than 120mm. Either way, a 105mm gun isn't really going to cut it. So that shot at the front of the Stridsvagn was, I think, a little optimistic. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, by the way, El Capitan here is actually down to 9 rounds of APCR, APCR being the standard ammunition that this tank fires. Heat is its premium round. Heat would do the job against the Stridsvagn, but of course that involves completely reloading the magazine. And clearly El Capitan here is, yes, you're now El Capitan, deal with it, is reluctant to completely reload his magazine because he wants to be able to use those 2 shots to help his allies. Unfortunately, he gets spotted, shot by the Stridsvagn, and the Donkerer is not an idiot. Can El Capitan pick up the Scorpion? No! It goes into his tracks. Ah. This could be a problem. Don't want to get shot by the Stridsvagn. Doesn't get shot by the Stridsvagn. Is now reloading. So, it's El Capitan in his Char Future 4 here, and a friendly Super Conqueror versus an enemy Scorpion G, who's on low health, a Foch, a Stridsvagn 103B, who's taken a bit of a battering, and a Donkerer that, whilst he's taken a shot or 2, he's on 5 kills. We have to assume he knows what he's doing, because he's in a Donkerer anyway, and he's got a reasonable wedge of hit points left. This is going to be awkward. Now, Capitan here is relocating, which is an eminently sensible thing to do. And that's the nice thing about guns with a very long reload. He gets down the slope okay. Or with autoloaders, you have the time to relocate and therefore approach the enemy from a different direction. Now, he's loaded a heat mag here. I think that's relatively sensible, because if he finds himself looking at the front of that Stridsvagn, his APCR rounds, unless they hit the weak point, are essentially going to achieve diddly squat. If he's got heat rounds loaded, however, 70 degree angle on armour is not the auto bounce angle for heat rounds. It's 80 degrees for heat rounds. They have some disadvantages as well, but it does mean they're quite good at dealing with the Swedish tank destroyers. Unfortunately, our dear Capitan here has been spotted. Now, there are 2 of them in the base, presumably the Scorpion G, and, well, it could be either the Donkerer or it could be the Stridsvagn, if we're going to be honest. I would expect it to be the Stridsvagn because he was on lower health, but we shall see. And that kind of forces El Capitan's hand. He doesn't have the time to dither around and come at them from a fancy angle. Unfortunately, they know he's coming, and he's just going to have to bully his way through, and it must be the Donkerer. Okay, that's interesting. 1 shot into the Stridsvagn. Stridsvagn actually bounces. Like I said, this thing does have a little bit of armour, and there we go. There's the kill on the Cheese Wedge of Destiny. Now, unfortunately, with 20 odd seconds left on the timer, El Capitan here really needs to get a base reset off. 10 seconds left on the timer. This is going to be close. Still got the friendly Super Conqueror, but I'm not convinced by his position. These guys know he's coming. I've no idea why the Donkerer is looking the other way. What is that donut playing at? He actually bounces, and El Capitan is able to put 2 shots into him and set him on fire. Why was he looking at the Super Conqueror? He must know that El Capitan here was going to come up behind him. I do not understand that play at all. I guess the Donkerer isn't as good as one might have expected. Like, presumably he was looking toward the Super Conqueror because he was worried about getting shot by the Super Conqueror. I understand that. I just don't think that should have been his primary concern. Oh well. So, the Super Conqueror manages to take out the Foch, which is nice, and El Capitan is good to go again. He's got heat loaded once more, which means he should have the mag damage to take out the Donkerer if he wants to. I'm not convinced he has the damage to take out both of them, though I could be wrong. I can't remember the exact hit points of the Donkerer. We'll see. Nonetheless, most of these capture points are going to be on the Scorpion because, well, the Donkerer's already been shot. So, kill the Scorpion. That keeps the game alive, and that should be enough damage in the magazine to deal with the Donkerer. He can take a shot from the Donkerer if needed. The problem, of course, being that it would take him at least 8 seconds to unload his 3 remaining rounds, and he actually goes for a mag reload here, which really surprises me. I guess he wants all the shots in his magazine that he can, and he's relying on his Super Conqueror friend to keep him alive in the interim. I mean, I suppose that works, presumably. I must confess, I'm not sure I would be willing to put that much faith in the friendly Super Conqueror. I mean, El Capitan here is putting some faith in his allies, which is not always a terrible idea, but it can backfire. And El Capitan here can take 1 shot from the Donkerer, but he can't reliably take 2 shots. That guy has 440 alpha. Looks like he's blown his load a little bit early. First shot, eaten by the tracks, come on into the hull. Second shot into the hull, takes a shot from the Donkerer, but this one should be able to deal with the guy, and it does. There we go. That is the game, right down to the wire, with less than 30 seconds left on the match. Whew, everyone just take a breath and calm down. Let's go and have a look at the stats for this one. And there we go. That was the result. Quite a close game there, I think you'll agree. Ace Tanker, Fighter, Hand of God, Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, a Lava Schleio's medal, which you get for killing 2 enemy tanks who were a higher tier than you, and of course Capitan there picked up kills on the Stridsvagn 103 and the Donkerer, both of whom are tier 10. A Defender medal and a High Caliber, so very, very nicely done there indeed. 5,194 damage done, 5 kills, 1,405 base experience. Shoutout should also probably go to the Super Conqueror on his team, who was there right at the end and managed to pick up a couple of kills that, without which, might have made El Capitan's life a little more difficult. And the D54E1 also managed a respectable amount of damage there. On the enemy team, commiserations really should go to the E75, 2.6k damage when not top tier isn't too shabby. The Stridsvagn 103B, 4,000 damage from him, and of course the Donkerer with 5,000 damage and 5 kills, because, you know, of course it is. But not enough. 21 shots fired, 20 hits, 16 pens for that damage count, most of which was from relatively close range. 6 hits received, 3 pen, 3 did not. The thing has a little bit of armour. Like, you can't always rely on it, but it does have a little bit of armour. 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 5 destroyed, and that's the maximum number of base defense points right there. And he even made a small profit with a premium account. Even though El Capitan there did fire a few heat rounds. Well-judged heat rounds, I would say. I can't really... he wasn't splurging them everywhere just for the hell of it. And so there we go. A couple of games for you that were a little bit close run, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you know what you can do. There's a link for Discord, a link for Patreon down in the description. You can send me your own replays on Discord, hence use the link. If you want to do that, just upload your replays to whatreplays.com, copy the URL into the relevant part of Discord, and I shall take a look. It seems that What Replays is back up and running these days, so yay! I hope you guys enjoyed, and as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.